I would like to invite you to download and read our new publication, our book called Mapping for a Sustainable World. This book describes important considerations for making maps of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, the SDGs, a set of indicators which measure how close or far we are to achieving this set of ambitious goals are publicly available. Here in this presentation, I will briefly describe our book that was collaboratively written with members of the International Cartographic Association and the Cartographic Unit of the Geospatial Information Section of the United Nations.
In this textbook, we offer specific guidance on how to administer traditional cartographic principles related to color, typography, projections, generalization, scale, as they relate to the specific nature of the SDG indicator data. Together, we generated 94 unique maps to illustrate what is possible in terms of mapping these SDGs. This book is a valuable resource to act as an introduction to cartography or a refresher handbook. It will always be useful to have on your desk. Through the process of writing, we learned a lot about the SDGs and the SDG indicator data. We also discussed different interpretations of cartographic principles. We discussed new ideas we had while working together on this project. Here I will briefly share a few valuable examples from this book. One important cartographic consideration that is often overlooked is the modifiable aerial unit problem. Here we display how aggregating data at different administrative units shifts the apparent spatial distribution of a phenomena. The modifiable aerial unit problem is important to consider when making and using maps for decision-making, particularly to identify local solutions in an effort to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. You can click this link to see an interactive example of the modifiable aerial unit problem in an Esri web app. Do you notice these are choropleth maps? Choropleth maps are easiest to make with SDG indicator since they are aggregated at a national level. However, as we know, and it is stated in our book, choropleth maps make it appear that a phenomenon is evenly distributed across a geographic area. And we know forested area generally is not evenly distributed throughout a country. Unfortunately, with the choropleth map alone, it is impossible to identify specifically where interventions are needed to achieve some of the SDGs and targets. Therefore, in our book, we also offer several alternative maps.
Ancillary data are required to make many of the different map types that are alternatives to the standard choropleth map. SDG indicator data at the subnational level are not publicly or readily available, although there are a few exceptions. One possible alternative map type we do suggest includes a disymmetric map. Here we have a traditional choropleth map on the left. Then I omitted land use types where people typically do not live, such as deserts. The gray map then becomes the clipping mask, and values are recalculated based on land areas that were omitted. The final map on the right is an example of a disymmetric map showing the undernourished population normalized by area. Regularly, we critiqued and debated each other's maps and writings. We consistently and constantly reflected on the maps that were made for this book. When I was making these maps, there were several things I thought about during the process, such as how are these data collected uniformly? What data are missing? Because it seems a lot of data are missing. I wondered about the data provenance. Now we challenge you to make your own SDG maps. These SDG indicator data are becoming more and more complete every day. Making these maps is a valuable, albeit time-consuming endeavor. As you make your own maps, we wonder what new insights and discoveries you will make. Here's a link to directions on how to make maps with SDG indicator data, including how to make an Esri web app to compare data sets. All data sets are formatted differently since disparate UN agencies curate these data. What I'm saying here is plan for extra time to clean your data. Now that you know all about our book, you can make your own beautiful, well thought out maps of SDG indicators. In the end, we hope you will agree that this is a valuable resource that will be useful for years to come. My name is Dr. Britta Ricker from Utrecht University, and I am one of the co-authors of our book. Thank you for your time and attention, and happy mapping.